record breaker, taking credit as an educator. I've been known to spit the flows and make it shaky, shaky thing. Popping, locking, stopping, let it hang. Watch us as we drop this hip hop, it's like it stings. We make a whole room drop and everybody sing. We want the funk. We gotta have that funk. We kick it old school. We think we're so cool. We take it back to the past. We gonna act a fool. Up jumps the middle finger. Make my Jaeger just.
Hello, and welcome to Sports Buzz, the Fanatical View. I am your host, Scott D. Lewis, here live in studio, Comcast Cable, Channel 23, downtown Danbury, Connecticut, on this little bit of a rainy May 9th, Thursday it is, and we are here from 6 until 6:30, like usual, talking sports and all that stuff. And the phone number, if you want to get in on the line and talk with us, 203-792-4101 is that number, and you can pick up that phone and call in anytime during the show, but the 30 minutes go by fast, so don't delay. Get on in if you want to start talking sports with us. Of course, my right-hand man, Mr. Bob Rod Jr., is here right now. He is in the studio. Hey, and look, there he is with his Harley-Davidson girls from a couple weeks ago, right over there on Federal Road. A nice, lovely day it was, and Bob was enjoying himself. Very nice. We don't always get to see Bob, so we had a little photo op for you. What do they call that? Photo bombing? Something like that? Anyways, he's here. He is running the show right now while we wait on Mr. Mike Toohey. Bob's show, of course, Spotlight On, Tuesdays at 9 o'clock, Wednesdays at 12. And Bob also is part of Danbury Westerners Roundup. And this week is the first episode of Westerners Roundup, and that show will run straight through the baseball season. And the show airs right after Sports Buzz, 6:30 until 7. And it re-airs on Fridays 1:30 until 2 o'clock, as Sports Buzz also re-airs 1 until 1:30. So you can start catching up on what the Westerners have been up to in the off-season, what they got planned for this upcoming season, the defending NECBL Western Division champion, Danbury Westerners, that is. So make sure to just keep your channel locked right here on Channel 23 for all that. While we wait on Mike and Bob to get in here and start talking with me, I'm just going to start going with it. Last night and tonight, really, as the NBA inexplicably takes a night off tonight, it's hockey night. And last night was hockey night in Canada, and my Boston Bruins took care of their business up there in Toronto. And I will say memo to Toronto and your fans, and they were out in full force. And this is what you have to love about Canada and international sports. The sports scene up there was outrageous. We don't get this in America. I would like to lead the charge and try to get these big outdoor public viewing events to start taking place, because they had the streets lined with people outside of the arena. Of course, the arena itself was packed. The Maple Leafs have not been in the playoffs in 9 years. Of course, they're an original six team, much like the Boston Bruins. Great hockey tradition up there in Toronto, and the series has been pretty highly contested. But memo to Toronto and your fans, putting up a sign that says Toronto Stronger, not such a good idea after the Boston Strong sign started popping up when they dealt with the Boston Marathon bombing and the fallout from that. And they had their signs and been getting support, everybody jumping in saying Boston Strong. Toronto tried to one-up them with that, and that has backfired as the Bruins went to Toronto and took 2 games. They now come back home for a crucial Game 5 with a 3-1 series lead. Last night, it was Krejci in overtime with the game winner, and the Toronto Maple Leafs were putting on the pressure on the young Bruins goalie, Tuukka Rask. We know 2 years ago it was the veteran Tim Thomas leading the way in goal for the Bruins. This is the big question, as they've basically parted ways with Tim Thomas, who in essence is retired, even though he's unofficially retired, has not played this year. And it's Tuukka time, and Tuukka Rask, so far so good here in the playoffs, standing up and putting up a pretty good effort and he was down 2-0 last night. The Bruins rallied for 3 goals unanswered in the second period, and then just after they had taken the lead and seemingly control of the game, the Maple Leafs responded and tied the game back up at 3-3 45 seconds after the Bruins took the lead. So a bunch of goals were scored in those first 2 periods. Then it was no goals being scored through that third period and deep into the overtime period before Krejci came up with the big game winner in overtime for the commanding 3-1 series lead for the Bruins as they are looking to get through into the second round, but they have more work to do. They will be heading home for Game 5, and they have looked like a better team than they did down the stretch of the regular season. They had looked a little tired, looked a little worn out, but they have been reinvigorated as these playoffs have gotten underway, and they are looking good right now with a 3-1 lead. But tonight is the big hockey night. As I mentioned, NBA, unbelievable. No games tonight, and we'll get to the NBA and their schedule in a little bit. But tonight it is the New York Islanders front and center as they take on the number 1 seeded Pittsburgh Penguins, who have been, they thought they were going to be bolstered by the return of Sid the Kid, Sidney Crosby, who came back and amazingly scored 2 goals immediately in the first period of his first game back in Game 2, a game that the Islanders then went on to win in Pittsburgh. They rallied from a 2-0 deficit after losing 5-0 in Game 1, and things did not look good for the Islanders at all, as they were looking like a team that just wasn't ready for the playoffs, as they have made the return. But as I said last week on this very show, and I said to Bob, the Islanders 3-0 all time against the Pittsburgh Penguins, and here they are now tied 2-2 as the 2 games that took place in the Coliseum, which was rocking, raucous crowd out there on the aisle, unbelievable games. They went on to they came home after tying the series 1-1 with the Game 2 win. They lost Game 3 4-5 in overtime in a brutal loss as they came out smoking with a 2-0 lead, then fell behind 4-2, only to tie it and force overtime before losing on Sunday afternoon in a raucous game. But they rally again, and they come back and they win Game 4 6-4, and they have prompted a goalie change as Andre Fleury is out of net tonight for tonight's game. They're going to go to their journeyman backup. So the Penguins now reeling as these games, unbelievable. 5-0 Game 1 was the Penguins all over them, that then lost 4-3. Then they win 5-4 in OT, 6-4. So 4 goals, and 6 goals in 3 straight. So Andre Fleury is out. And that is going to be the big game tonight as they look to go up on the Penguins and take command of this series. Could you imagine if they go up 3-2 and then get to return home for Game 6 at the Coliseum? The place will just come unglued. Unbelievable. It's going to be a raucous scene there no matter what, even if they lose tonight. But this series has turned into quite the affair. So the Islanders looking to do what they did to them in 93, in 82, and in 78, defeat the Penguins. We'll see if they can get it done again. It was shocking when they did it in 1993. I remember I actually predicted that. I wasn't doing a show at that time, but I did predict that to those who were listening then, that the Islanders were going to stun them, and they did. We'll see if they can pull that off again. Other games tonight, the Senators and their bad blood against their Canadian brethren, the Montreal Canadiens, Les Habitants, are down 3-1. Unbelievable. I don't know if you've seen what's been going on in this series, but the Senators in Game 3, I believe it was, beat down the Canadiens 6-1 in a game that had about 900 penalty minutes, 9 game misconducts, fights all over the place. The Ottawa coach then called a timeout with 17 seconds left in a 6-1 blowout. And then there was a slap shot taken at the buzzer from one player to another. bad blood all around. Canadians looked to bounce back and tie that series in the last game, Game 4. They had a lead, but they did go on to lose again, and now they are down 3-1 in this series. So things are very, very testy between the Senators and the Canadians. That game takes place tonight. The Senators looking to close out the Canadians. The other game tonight is a closeout game potentially as well. The number 1 seeded Chicago Blackhawks out there in Chicago, Chi-Town, the Windy City. They are in full control against the Minnesota Wild. They are up 3-1. So those are the games going on tonight. In the other series in the Eastern Conference, the Rangers, they have rallied from being down 2-0 against the Washington Capitals. Capitals held the Rangers to only 1 goal in the first 2 games in Washington, and then they came back. The Rangers did to win both games in New York in the Garden to tie this series up at 2-2. Here is your stat. Teams with a 2-0 lead in the NHL have a winning percentage of up over 80%. The Washington Capitals, however, are 2-4 all-time when leading 2-0. So they are the team that is bringing down that percentage. Capitals, not a good place for them to be, up 2-0. We'll see if they pull El Foldo, El Choco again as they head home for Game 5. They played reasonably well as these games were highly contested in New York. So we'll see what happens in Game 5 if they can get back to winning ways and get the edge back in this series. They do not want to go back down and lose 3 straight in this series, much like another team has done that was up 2-0 in the Western Conference. That's right, the defending Stanley Cup champion LA Kings, led by the Connecticut kid Jonathan Quick in net. They have rallied from down 2-0 against St. Louis. The Blues now singing the blues fully as the Kings have rallied for 3 straight victories. They are now in command of that series, up 3-2 on St. Louis. And St. Louis does have home ice, so Game 6 is actually in LA. They will be looking to close it out in LA instead of going back to St. Louis for Game 7. So we'll see what happens there. The other series out west, the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim and the Red Wings of Detroit. This series has gone back and forth and back, and now it is the Ducks sitting with the 3-2 series lead on the Red Wings. Hockeytown, USA, looking to stay alive in that series. So it is a big hockey night tonight. That is the hockey situation going on, and we'll see what happens. But the Islanders are front and center with the 2-2 tied up against the number 1 seeded Pittsburgh Penguins, not fearing the Penguins right now. We will shift gears to the NBA, even though they have just, I don't know what they are thinking. They're doing a major disservice to their fans, taking the night off in the middle of round 2. Are you kidding me? What is this? No ball night tonight? I mean, come on. And let's just dive into the schedule before we dive into the series. Oklahoma City and Memphis played on Tuesday. New York and Indiana played on Tuesday. When are their next games? Saturday? Are you kidding me? 3 days off between games? NBA, you are better than that. Why are you doing a disservice to your fans, giving these teams 3 days off? Then, to make matters worse, San Antonio plays Golden State when? Last night, Wednesday. When is their next game against them? Friday, with travel from San Antonio to Oaktown. And the same goes for Miami and Chicago, who both played last night, Wednesday night. They return to action tomorrow, Friday night in Chicago, with travel out of Miami to Chicago. NBA, get it right. Stop doing a disservice to the teams and to the fans and get your schedule in order. We're tired of this nonsense. Round 1 is a joke with all the days off in between games. 19 days to play 7 games. Come on, NBA. This is ridiculous. All right, let's get down to what's been going on in the series. We'll talk about last night's game since it's more relevant than what happened 2 nights ago. Chicago took game 1 in Miami. Unbelievable. And really, we need to go back to what happened Saturday night in Brooklyn. How could you, Brooklyn? How could you? There is nobody playing for the Bulls. Their whole team is in the infirmary. Luol Deng has meningitis. He got a spinal tap to try to recover. He has not come back. We, of course, know Derrick Rose is out. He's been out all year. He's still keeping that door open for some reason. Kurt Heinrich has the calf, ankle injury, whatever it is. He can't play. The other 2 guys on the team have been sick as well, and they somehow are rallied around Chicago. I'm just telling you, Joakim Noah is the man. He is unbelievable. He has led this team. They went into Brooklyn on Saturday night, won Game 7, going away. PJ Carlesimo fired after that. Poor showing. They could not get rid of the Bulls and get past them in Game 7. And so the Bulls then go down to Miami and do the unthinkable. Still with the depleted bench, they go down and they take care of Miami in Game 1. Miami did return the favor last night with a thumping as they pounded the Bulls in Game 2 to even that series up, and they return to Chicago for Game 3. The Bulls, unbelievable. Since LeBron has gone to Miami, the Bulls have a 9-8 record against the Miami Heat. Unbelievable. So they are a team that has no fear when it comes to Miami. They get physical with them. We, of course, know they ended Miami's winning streak this year at 27. Bron then cried foul after the game. They're too physical with me. I get fouled every time I play. Why are they fouling me? Why are they getting physical with me? Ridiculous, Bron. Shut your yap. You got to just toughen up because the Bulls are going to come at you. We'll see what happens. And, of course, Nate Dogg, who has just had a rebirth. Nate Robinson, unbelievable, just going off in this playoffs, almost as much as Stephon Curry is going off, as we will get to that game now. The other of last night's affair, Game 1, Golden State versus San Antonio. Unbelievable. Warriors come out to play. Curry scored, 21 points, I believe, something like that in the third quarter alone, 40-plus in the game. And the Warriors had a 19-point lead in this game, 16-point lead with under 4 minutes to go, and somehow, some way, San Antonio rallies in that game, and they return all the way back, and they come from behind, and they force overtime, double overtime, and they go up by 5 in the second overtime, only to see the Warriors come back and take a 1-point lead before Manu Ginobili hits the 3, basically at the buzzer to win it. Pandemonium in San Antonio for Game 1 and double overtime win. And here is a little memo, a little lesson to all you NBA players, or actually not NBA players, but you basketball fans out there, kids. Take a heed as to what happened in this. When it comes to the playoffs and when it comes to big games, no layups allowed. And San Antonio proved that, and they proved it in a big way as they rallied from 16 points down in the fourth quarter. Richard Jefferson, who was on this Golden State team, had a steal, a fast break layup. It looked like an easy dunk. San Antonio defender came racing all the way down the court and did not allow the layup because that's the playoff rules. No layups. He hacked him. What happened? RJ missed both free throws. Those 2 free throws could have won that game in regulation. That could have been the difference right there. It would have pushed the lead back to 10. Instead, San Antonio comes down, hits a 3, cuts it to 5, and that was really the difference, I thought, in that game. So that's a lesson to you. If you're playing in a big game, in a playoff, doesn't matter what level you're at, no layups. Make the team earn it at the stripe. and that was a huge difference. So San Antonio came back and won game one, and everybody figured that was it. Golden State was not going to be able to recover this young team against this veteran team with all the championships. Guess what? They recovered in a big way as they went out and they won last night in San Antonio. Another brilliant performance by Curry. Some other guys chipping in big time. So Mark Jackson's really doing a fine job with this Golden State team. They are out to play. Warriors come out to play. Now they get to go to Oaktown for game 3 and 4 with a series tied 1-1. And really, I mean, come on. If you didn't blow that lead, you're up 2-0. So this is, I would say, worrisome times for San Antonio. They seemingly have no answer for this up and down tempo for Golden State. This team seems legit. We will see what they can do on Friday night with no days off either. San Antonio is a little bit of an older team. Are they going to be able to recover after these 2 games? So we'll see. Of course, locally, Brick City, they did not succumb to history last week. When we were here, we were talking about the Boston Celtics looking to do what the Boston Red Sox did against the Yankees a few years back, rallying from 3-0 down. The Celtics were trying to become the first team ever to do that in the NBA. They put a big scare in the Knicks as they had a 26-point lead in game number 6 in Boston. Celtics went on a 20-0 run, and then, of course, they pulled it to within 4, and the deciding play in that game was made by one guess. It wasn't a player. It was a NBA official. Yes, that's right. The NBA official stepped in as they were down 4. Melo, who was having another terrible shooting night, drove the lane, threw up a brick. Garnett grabbed the rebound. Celtics were looking to push the other way. Not so fast. Bogus foul call on Brandon Bass, who had been doing a great job defensively. Melo then sunk the 2 free throws to settle the game down, slow the momentum down. They went back up by 6. The Celtics missed a shot on the ensuing possession, and Melo finally hit a jumper right after that to get it to 8. That was your ball game. Game over, series over. The Bricks avoided infamy, really, by collapsing epically. There was a collapse in the series and then almost an epic collapse in the game, almost blowing that lead as the Celtics stunningly rallied. But that is over with. The Celtics have big question marks. We do not know what they will be next year. Most likely something completely different. Knicks, however, Brick City, still playing right now. They are locked up against their old foe, the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers came into the Garden in game 1 and played a brilliant game. They really did a number on the Bricks as they faded down the stretch, and the Pacers took control of the series 1-0. But then in game 2, unbelievable, speaking of runs, a 30-2 run the Bricks put on the Pacers, who looked like a team that said, you know what, we already stole game 1. We were up in this game here in the third quarter with they had a 2-point lead. Inexplicably, their coach called a timeout. I don't know why you would call a timeout when your team just hit 2 3-pointers, got a lead. He decided he wanted to stop his own momentum in the mix, and the Knicks took advantage and launched themselves on a 32 run to lead to a blowout to get themselves back in the series. So now they wait until Saturday night in Indiana with the series tied 1-1. The other big series going on is Memphis and Oklahoma City. The Grizzlies did everything right except finish game 1 as Kevin Durantula struck big time in the fourth quarter of game 1, as he is now the solo show for OKC as they're trying to figure out a way to get this done without their point guard Russell Westbrook out for the year now with that injury in the round 1. And it's tough times for OKC, but they do have Durantula, who is a beast. Game 1, he made the shots down the stretch to win it, and Memphis did not. Game 2, not so fast. Durantula misses the shots down the stretch, and Memphis comes up with the big win to take control, take home court advantage away from OKC. So the Grizzlies now with the 1-1 series lead heading back to Memphis. That's the NBA action. Let's switch gears. I'm not sure how much time we have left. I don't believe too much. MLB, the Red Sox suddenly struggling a little bit, and don't look now, but Bucks Birds from Baltimore are chirping away and have pulled into a tie with the Boston Red Sox, 21-13. They are tied atop first place in the AL East. So Baltimore on the rise. The Red Sox have some bullpen injuries. Both of their closers in waiting are out right now. Hanrahan, Bailey. Bailey should be back by early next week. Hanrahan, we're not so sure. Neither injury seems all that serious, but it is a concern. So suddenly they are having some problems with their pitching, with their bullpen, and they got thumped last night by Minnesota, really, in what was a disaster. So 21-13. Yankees are at 19-13. Last check, they were in a rain-snow delay. Yes, it is still snowing in Colorado. I saw evidence of it myself, as I know people living out there sending pictures of them plowing snow here on May 9th. They were trying to get this game in today, but it was in a delay. Not sure what was happening once we got the show started. So the Yankees right behind the Red Sox and the Orioles. And they are at Kansas City this weekend, which continues to be a nice little surprise, sitting at 17-13, but the Tigers have moved up and over them at 19-12 into first place. And how about this? Terry Francona, Tito's Indians, 18-14 with a 9-1 record over the last 10 games for them. So the Indians playing well under Tito. Rangers cruising out west, 21-13. A's struggling a little bit, but hanging around 500, 18-18. The Angels, much like the Dodgers out west, 2-8 in their last 10 games, 11-22 for the high-spending Halos. The Mets not doing so good, even though Harvey almost had a perfect game, almost had another one-hitter. Unbelievable Harvey as they win 1-0 the other night in extra innings. No run support. The Mets cannot score. They are at 13-17, but Harvey pitching outstanding. The Braves holding on to first, 20-13. Nats improving, 18-15. Cards continue to fly at 21-12. Pirates hanging around 18-15. Any of you Joe Barlow fans wondering what's up with Charlie Morton? He is on the DL. He was hurt most of last year. Reds sitting at 19-16 right behind them. Out west, Giants stomping away. They have moved into first place ahead of the Rockies at 20-14. Rockies right behind them, 19-14. Diamondbacks, 19-15. For all you race fans, I hope it was a good race for you. The Kentucky Derby. Orb was your winner as he came from behind in a slop fest. His mother was a mudda. His father was a mudda. He's a mudda. And he won it coming away on the outside. Down the stretch they come. He came really from behind. Great race, exciting race, good times, and it was a good time. So I hope you had money on him because he paid out big time, big payout. And that is our show. We will wrap it up as Mr. Mike Toohey did show up. Bob didn't come in to speak on the mic, but that's all right. Keep your channel locked right here. Westerners Roundup coming up next, and we will see you actually off next week, back in 2 weeks to see what's going on.